Hello, how are you? Today we will take biology or level for grade 9, and this lesson is talk about the dawn of life and characteristics of living organisms. The dawn of life, scientists believe that the earth was formed from an enormous cloud of gases about 5 billion years ago, and these atmospheric conditions were harsh. So there was no molecular oxygen, and the environment was very unstable, and conditions were unstable for life as we know it. Again, scientists believe that the Earth was formed from an enormous cloud of gases about 5 billion years ago, and these atmospheric conditions were harsh, so there was no molecular oxygen, and the environment was very unstable, and conditions were unstable for life as we know it. And many scientists believe that the first and simplest living organism appeared on Earth about 2.8 billion years ago, and this organism probably fed on molecule in a sort of soup. Again, many scientists believe that the first and simplest living organism appeared on Earth about 2.8 billion years ago, and this organism fed on molecule in a sort of soup. These organisms fed on molecules in a sort of soup. This soup called primordial soup, and which made up some of the shallow seas on Earth at the time. And so, how can distinguish between the living organism and non-living organisms? By studying characteristics of living organisms. Again, how can distinguish between living organisms and non-living organisms? By studying the characteristics of living organisms. The first character that living organism have it is respiration. So living organisms respire, show irritability. What's irritability? It's a sensitivity to their environment and movement, nourish themselves, grow and develop, excrete, reproduce. Again, we have 6 characters for living organism: respire, show irritability, that it's a sensitivity to their environment and movement, nourish themselves, grow and develop, excrete, reproduce. Again, respire, yes, show irritability, nourish themselves, grow and develop, excrete, reproduce. The opposite page gives more details of the characteristics of life, and you may see other similar lists of these characteristics using slightly different words, and you can remember that this particular list using the word ringer, so it gives a ringer solution. Its name, the solution of ions and molecules that physiologists use to keep living tissue, and it keeps the cells alive. Again, what's the ringer solution? This is a solution of ions and molecules. Solution of ions and molecules that physiologists use to keep living tissue, and it keeps the cell alive. Again, ringer solution is a solution of ions and molecules that physiologists use to keep living tissue, and it keeps the cell alive. Again, ringer solution is a solution of ions and molecules. Solution of ions and molecules physiologists use to keep living tissue, and it keeps the cell alive. So keep these cells alive. Living things or living organisms have a complex organization. Again, it's very important to know that living organisms have a complex organization that's not found in non-living world. Living organisms have complex organization that's not found in non-living world. So, a snowflake or a crystal of quartz is an organized collection of identical molecules. Again, non-living organism or non-living things as snowflake or crystal of quartz, it's organized collection of identical molecules. But even the simplest living cell contain many different complex substances arranged in very specific structure. So it's very important to know that very simplest living organisms have a complex organization and have many different complex substances arranged in very specific structure. But in a non-living organism, as a snowflake or a crystal of quartz, is an organized collection of identical molecules and do not have any complex substance. Another thing you should to know, the living things also have variation. What's the variation? The offspring are often different from one another and from their parents. Again, what's variation? Variation, the offspring are often different from one another and from their parents. This is important in adaptation to the environment and in the process of evolution. Again, how can distinguish between living organism and non-living organism? By studying characteristics of living organism. So living organisms have respiration, our respiratory system, show irritability, nourish themselves, grow and develop, and create and reproduce. And although living organisms have complex organization and living organisms have variation. What's variation? Variation is the offspring. The offspring are often different from one another and from their parents. So, what's the importance of this variation? It's important in adaptation to the environment and the process of evolution. Again, what's the importance of this variation? It's very important in adaptation to the environment and the process of evolution. Now we will take how the characteristics of life depend on each other. Each of the characteristics of life is linked to the others. Can be true or false. Characteristics of life not linked to each other and not depend on each other, it's false. Characteristics of life is linked to the other. For example, we will show it by example. Okay, organisms can only grow if they are nourished. As you take nourishment from their environment, they may also produce waste materials which must be then excreted. To respond to the environment, they must organize themselves and tissue to carry out actions. Because of the random nature of reproduction, they are likely to show variation from generation to generation, and we will take the variation on the last page. Again, characteristics of life depend on each other, and we will show it by example. For example, any living organism can only grow if they are nourished, and these living organisms take nourishment from their environment. They may also produce waste materials which must be then excretion. To respond to the environment, they must organize their cells and tissue to carry out this action. It's called adaptation. So, because of the random nature of reproduction, so they are likely to show variation from generation to generation. What's important of this variation from generation to another generation? For adaptation to the environment and the process of evolution. Bravo. So, how the organism and living things and their ability to carry out their life process depend on. Definitely, it's depend on the supply of energy. Many biologists today define life as a set of processes that result from organization of matter and which depend on expenditure of energy. Again, the organization of living things and their ability to carry out their life process definitely it's depend on supply of energy. And a living organism depends on supply of energy. So, in this book, we will shall see how energy is released from food molecules and trapped in iosable form, how molecules are organized into the structure of living organisms, how living organisms use this energy to drive their life process. Again, any living organism should have supply of energy for their life. We will take the nutrition. Okay, this picture it shows life process for the elephant. The first elephant to drink, so it's nutrition. The taking in of materials for energy, growth and development. Plants require carbon dioxide and light and water and ions and make their foods using the process of photosynthesis. But animals require organic compounds and ions and okay, definitely water and obtain their foods ready made by eating them. Again, it's very important. Nutrition of living organisms. Nutrition of living organisms. We should study nutrition for plants and nutrition of animals. Nutrition for plants. Plants take materials from energy. Plants require light, carbon dioxide, water, ions. Again, plants require light, carbon dioxide, water, and ions to make their food using process of photosynthesis. So, plants take his food or take their food ready-made? No. Plants make their own food by process called photosynthesis. And to make photosynthesis, you should have, yes, light, carbon dioxide, water, and ion to make their own food. But animals require organic compound in ions and usually water and obtain their foods ready made by eating them. So, the elephant can make their own food? No, but take ready-made food by eating them. Ready-made food, okay? The second process is growth and development, and this is a process in which organism changes in size and in form. Again, in this process of growth and development, the living organism changes in size and in form. So, if living organism increase in size, it's a growth. And if organism increase in relative in the relative size of its body parts change, it's called develop. And this growth is permanent increase in size and dry mass and result from an increase in cell number or cell size or both. Again, a growth and development. A growth is increase in size, but the relative size of its body parts change. If the body parts change in relative size, it's called develop. And growth is permanent. Growth is permanent increase in size and dry mass and result from an increase in a cell number or cell size or both. Third process is excretion. What's the excretion, or what's the definition of excretion? It's removal from organism of toxic material and waste product of metabolism and substance in excess of requirement. So the definition of excretion: removal from three things: organisms of toxic materials, waste products of metabolism, and substance in excess of requirement. Again, excretion, removal. Excretion, removal. Removal what? Removal organisms of toxic materials. Removal the waste products of metabolism and substance in excess of requirement. So excretion is removal process للتوكسيك materials للأورجانيزم للتوكسيك materials للwaste products of metabolism and substance in excess of requirements. Okay. The fourth process is reproduction. This process make more of the same kind of organism. So new individuals and organisms may sample split into two, or reproduction may be more complex process involving fertilization. Again, reproduction may one of two things. A new individual of an organism may sample split into two, or reproduction may be more complex process involving fertilization. So reproduction makes a new organism. Reproduction makes a new organisms of the same species as the parents, and it's depend on set of chemical plants. أكيد يعني definitely reproduction ده depend on what? The genetic information contained within each living organism. Again, reproduction, it's a process. Okay, this is a result from this process to give us new organism by two processes. The first process is simple split into two, or reproduction may be more complex process involving fertilization, and this production give us a new organism. This new organism as the same species as the parents, and this depend on chemical blends called genetic information. Again, reproduction depend on genetic information. Reproduction give us more one or more of a new organism that is the same species as the parents. Okay, the fifth process is a respiration. Respiration is a chemical reaction. Again, respiration is a chemical reaction that break down this nutrient molecule in living cell to release energy. For what? For metabolism. Again, respiration is a chemical reaction. Respiration is a chemical reaction that break down nutrient molecules in living cell to release energy for what? For metabolism. This form of respiration that release the most energy use oxygen. Many organisms have gaseous exchange. What's the gaseous exchange? It's a system. So what's the definition of gaseous exchange? Is a system that supplies their cell with oxygen from their environment. Again, respiration is a chemical process or chemical reaction and break down nutrient molecule in living organism to release energy. For what? For metabolism. And respiration أكيد يعني it's definitely the form of respiration that release the most energy used oxygen. Many organisms have gaseous exchange. What's the gaseous exchange? It's a system that supplies their cells with oxygen from what? From their environment. It's a system that supplies their cells with oxygen from their environment. Okay. The last process with us is irritability or sensitivity. Irritability or sensitivity and the ability to detect or sense changes in the internal or external environment and to make appropriate response. The changes are called stimuli and the response often involve movement. Again, the irritability or sensitivity, its ability to detect or sense changes. يبقى عندنا هنا بيحصل change in the internal or external environment and to make appropriate response. Again هيبقى بيحصل عندنا ايه؟ بيحصل عندنا changes in the internal or external environment and to make appropriate response. The change in the internal or external environment is called stimuli and the response often involve movement, inaction by an organism or a part of an organism. Again, movement, action by organism or part of an organism causing a change in position or place. Change on position or place. For example, we will take external stimuli as if anyone calling you, you should move your arm and take the mobile for calling this person. So it's called external stimuli. And you should move your arm and take the mobile for this calling. So it's called external stimuli, and the movement here is the change in position of your arm. Internal environment or internal stimuli. If you have a stomach pain, you spontaneously put your hand on your stomach or go to the doctor for investigation. And this is internal stimuli. Again, irritability and sensitivity, the ability. So irritability, it's the ability to detect or sense changes in the internal or external environment to make appropriate response. This changes in internal or external environment called stimuli, and the appropriate response is involved movement. So movement is an action by an organism or part of an organism causing change of position or place. So we will finish this lesson, and this time to say goodbye.